It's the Questions Hip Hop Podcast. My name is Sean Kantrowitz. I'm your host, and this week's episode is a brand new Can't Knock the Shuffle edition with Slum Village. For those who don't know, Can't Knock the Shuffle is the format where I take an artist's entire catalog, I throw it in a playlist, and then I let the algorithm randomly choose 7 songs, and then the artist and I talk about the stories behind those songs. It's completely random, and it often results in artists getting to tell stories that they've never been asked about before. Slum Village, what can I say? Legendary. Ambassadors of Detroit hip-hop from their game-changing debut in the late 90s, which showcased the members' one-of-a-kind emceeing and the genre-warping production of their producer JD, aka J Dilla, to the various iterations that the group has taken on over the years. There's been a lot of chapters here, different lineups, different directions, different members, and we talk about all of that. And the chapter that we are focused on with this interview is their latest, the group, which consists of founding member T3 and producer / longtime staple Young RJ. They just dropped their latest album. It's called FUN, and I can't recommend it enough. It's a new chapter for the group. And while it introduces some new elements to the direction and the aesthetic of Slum Village, it is without a doubt an extension of their classic sound. It's available now wherever you get music, so go get it. Before we hop into this episode, I want to give a big shout out to the Questions Patreon. Here's my pitch to you real quick. If you enjoy this show and you want to support, you can hit the Patreon either in the episode notes or at the top of the show if you're listening on Spotify, or you can just go to patreon.com/thequestionshiphop. As a member, you get early access to episodes, bonus content, and exclusive episodes that don't live anywhere else. Music, video, photos, articles, and other essays written by yours truly. And you get to join a community of other like-minded hip-hop fanatics. I appreciate the support of the Patreon, and for $5 a month, I will extend my appreciation to you, too. So this is a good one. You're in for a treat. I was so thrilled. I've been listening to Slum Village for all of my life, it feels like. For most of my life. This is a Can't Knock the Shuffle edition of The Questions Hip Hop with special guests, Slum Village.
Who did it first? Who did it best? Who did it worst? That's the question. Who rapping there? That remix, and what happened when? That's the question.
And let me ask you a question.
And if you ain't knowing these, then my guys knowing what you need. Some answers to the questions.
I've been doing this podcast in various forms for like 4 or 5 years now, and I have a few different formats, right? And for this format, it's a format called Can't Knock the Shuffle. And basically, I thought Slum Village would be great for this because this format is basically, I took all of the songs that are in the Slum Village catalog, right? And I threw it in a random algorithm playlist. So I didn't know what songs were going to be. These were all randomly selected. And we're going to talk about the stories behind the songs that came up, or the era. If a song doesn't have like a great, story in your head, we could still talk about the era. But this is completely random. People love this format because we get to talk about things that maybe, I'm sure you guys get asked about the same like songs more frequently than others. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of like a new spin on that.
Okay, that's dope.
The new album, by the way, you guys are in double digits now when it comes to like projects, mixtapes. No one would expect or like ask that the new album be as good as it is. It's so fun, and it's so it nods back to the legacy of SV, but it also is like adding a lot of new elements that I was really surprised to hear. So first off, I just wanted to like congratulate you guys on a fantastic, no pun intended, project.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, you guys just got off like a month of European dates. How was that?
It was nice, man. It was good to connect with the fans. Of course, it was long. and it was kind of tiresome. But it's hip hop. You got to keep it going. You know how that go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right, we're going to get into it. These are 7 songs that have been randomly selected by the algorithm. So the first song that came up was, appropriately enough, from the new album, from the Fun album, Fun. The song is called To the Disco. I'm going to play a little snippet of it real quick. All right. So before we even get into the specifics of the song, like, I was reading in the press release that you guys were starting this album off as a little bit more traditional, and then there was sort of a pivot point. RJ, can you talk about that on the production side?
Yeah, we started out with like the same normal vibe that Slum always does. And we kind of just got to a point where we weren't really feeling inspired because it's something that we've done. So we just literally stopped and waited for maybe another year. And then T was like, you know what, man, what if we just speed the tempo up? You know what I'm saying? More funk and disco influence. And I was kind of like, ah, that's what you want to do? And he was like, yeah, I think so. We ain't done it. I was like, okay, well, let me see what I can do. So then we just started crafting from there. And then it only took realistically about 6 months to do that once we knew the direction. So, then we just started going through records, digging and looking for like rare grooves and use that to be inspired off of by bringing in various musicians and drummers, like Kareem Briggins, Daru Jones, and, the cast of musicians that we use. And then it came together.
And T, you sort of had this inspiration of how you wanted to switch things up. Where did that sort of inspiration hit you? And did you feel any hesitation about that? Because you guys know that you have a brand. You guys know that people, have a certain sound. And I do feel like you successfully expanded on that without, like, this isn't you guys putting out a polka record or like a folk album or anything like that.
Right.
But sort of what was that like? Because, especially we're all creatures of habit, right? So it can be difficult at times to do something new and risk, are the fans gonna fuck with this or not? So tell me where you were coming from when you brought that to RJ.
I thought about the rare Slum Village songs. You know what I'm saying? The rare Slum Village songs that people know of, but they don't necessarily request. Like Forth and Back, and like the song that we got with Busta Rhymes. Those are the up-tempo songs that we have. So we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we didn't really expand on it. So I didn't think it was a real stretch for Slum Village. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, well, let's go into this lane. You know what I'm saying? So I just thought about those couple songs that we had already kind of did. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, man, what if we just go here and just stay here? You know what I'm saying? With the vibes. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I thought. So I didn't think it was a stretch, man. I just went there and said, I think we can pull it off. I feel like we can pull off anything, really. If we put our minds to it. I do feel like we can pull off anything.
Yeah. A song like this, To the Disco, I feel like it's sort of meant for live shows. Have you guys been playing the new songs, and how have they been translating into the sets?
Yeah, we perform To the Disco in every show. That's the first song that we come out to.
Sorry, not sorry, we here now. You better off. Sprinkles on top is the S. Squaring off. We making plays, we Uncle Ray's with better soul. I'm coming through with my entourage just coming out. We the super squad, we spinning wise and in a pot. So go the fuck up, your monster can't catch up. Your mind is nuts, my eyes flash, so can't step up. Freeze.
The songs was kind of designed for live performance because normal Slum Village stuff is so mid-tempo and laid back that we wanted to make sure we did songs this album that would translate into the live show.
I love that. That's like reverse engineering, especially with so many shows, everything you guys have done. I feel like you probably are able to assess at a certain point. The show's dope. People are coming to the shows, but how do we enhance the experience? How do we sort of fine tune the material to get the results that we want?
Correct.
That's dope. So who is the Abstract Orchestra?
Abstract Orchestra is a a band from the UK, a little outside of Leeds. And Rob Mitchell, me and him just developed a real close relationship. We met him out on tour, actually. They opened for us, and then we just developed a relationship from there. And we kind of used them to come in and enhance things here and there on the album. So shout out to Abstract Orchestra.
I love it. I'm going to check for whatever you guys do regardless, but I will say that I was like very, very surprised, and not that it was good. Obviously, I know it's always good, but just that you were able to pull off the pivot. So, I mean, you guys are doing press for the album, but it's appropriate that the person talking to you right now actually really fucks with the album. It's really good.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. All right, we're going to keep on going through the algorithmic time travel now. We're going randomly back to 2005. This song is from the self-titled Slum Village album, and the song is called Hear This.
Jay, you remember this? How we came up with this song?
Hear This was another thing, an era of being in RJ Wright Studios, the actual building. That was last album we recorded there. And it was T3 saying, man, we got to make sure we have some energetic stuff on the album. And that was just one of those beats that Black Milk had brought into the studio. And I'm about positive that T said, well, Black, if go ahead and set it off. And then Black came with an idea for how to do a hook, and then the record just formed from there.
Yeah, that's true. That is how we kind of came up with it. That album was like, we were, if you ask Hex Murder, he's going to say that Slum Village wasn't focused on that album, is what Hex Murder, because he was A&R on that album at the time. He's going to say we wasn't focused because we were barely showing up to the studio when we did that album. So that's what Hex Murder would say.
I think you're doing a kind impersonation of Hex Murder. I feel like he would say it a lot less nice than how you just said.
Well, where you coons at? Is what he probably would say. You know what I'm saying? But yes, Hex Murder, yes, he A&R'd that album, and we wasn't showing up, man. I had a lot of stuff. I had 3 girlfriends at the time. I was doing too much. I had a lot going on. So did L. So I don't know what L was doing, but it took him years. It seemed like it took him years to write one verse. It was just, we wasn't really focused. We was not focused on that album. Jay was focused though. Jay was pretty focused, and so was Black Milk. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't though, for sure.
I mean, looking back, you have the hindsight now because that was 2005, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of hindsight do you have now? Like, if you could go back and give your past selves any advice in this era, what lesson do you think that you all had to learn?
I would say to trust my instinct. If me and T agree on something, it's dope. And we had a lot of people that influenced certain decisions as far as like what direction we took on the album or what tracks we picked from certain producers. So I would say just to trust the instinct, of my taste of music. And I think, things would have been a little different, but I never second guess.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, everybody has different phases. And for a group like Slum Village, there's been a lot of personnel changes, a lot of, like shifts and evolutions that have happened.
Right.
Are there albums that you go back to, and are there albums that you like basically don't look back on at all?
It ain't albums, but it's certain songs, certain verses. I'd be like, well, I could have did this, I could have did that. But, it is what it is, man. It's hip hop. So you always got a chance to redo or come with the next best. So I never do that. I never dwell there.
Right. It's interesting, too, because I think most people in life, they don't document chapters of their life the way artists do. Artists make time capsules that's like, this is what I sounded like. If there's album artwork, this is what I look like. These were my exact thoughts at the time. Most people don't actually have to do with that. Most people don't document those things. So, I mean, I guess this just goes into the bravery of being an artist and putting your thoughts and voice in a capsule that is going to be there for better or worse. It's going to stand. People will be able to hear it,
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to keep it moving then. Randomly selected track number 3. We're going back to 2024. It is a song called All Live. T, I'm curious, what is songwriting like for you? Because you particularly, you write a lot of hooks, even when they're not hooks, like a lot of like lyrical motifs and phrases and things. So like, where does it sort of come from? Is this a song where you heard the beat and then that came to you, or did you sort of have that idea for what you were going to do and then you found a song that fit that idea? I'm curious.
No, I heard the beat. It's always I hear the beat first, and then I come up with this. With this particular song, I did come with the hook first. You know what I'm saying? I did come with the hook first, so this was an easy write for me. I instantly knew when I heard this beat that we were going to use it. But what the funny part about it is, I'm gonna let Jay tell you the funny part about it. No, about this song. Go ahead, Jay.
A few of these beats I sent years ago, probably about 3 songs off the album, but it went back to that thing of what direction are we taking. So it's not like he didn't like it per se. It just, we didn't know what we was doing. So when we got to a certain point, he was like, man, I'm pretty sure, man, you got songs that you probably already got beats, bro, that's already like that. And I was like, I think so. So I went back and I sent him like 3 or 4 of the records that's on the album. And he was like, yeah, this is it. Where this stuff been? I'm like, I sent it to you. And he like, oh, well, now we got the direction. So I'm hearing different. So I'm like, okay, it's about the time and when you play something.
Timing is definitely important.
Yeah. When I heard it, this was a quick write. This is easy write. Some stuff is a little difficult, but this is easy write. I didn't even have to really think. It was easy to write to. You know what I'm saying? Because it reminds me of something old, but it sounds like something new. So it kind of got both of that. And that kind of make it easy for me to write.
Yeah. Truth be told, like listening to it just now, I'm like, this actually does very much fit like the classic Slum pocket. It just has other elements to it. Like hearing the trumpet on there is like, oh, okay, that's something that kind of signifies the new chapter. But this isn't, again, for people who are listening or going to listen to this and like haven't heard the album yet, like this is a departure, but it's not like a complete like 180 where like there's no drums and there's anything like that. So that totally makes sense to me.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. RJ, is the beat as it stands now, was that like the beat that you sent years ago, or did you do a lot of flourishes or additions to it to like have it stitch in with the sound of the album?
The core of the beat is the same. Only thing that was added additional was the horns and the strings that come in. And then we put a new beat for All Live 2 on that, which it was originally supposed to be one long song, but it was just so long that I was like, people might not get to the second part. So we broke it up. But yeah, pretty much it was the same.
Yeah, that's strategizing for the streaming era. If this was like a CD or a record, you might just be like, oh, they'll let it play. But then I noticed that I was like, okay, like part 1, part 2. I see.
Yeah.
But you guys also are a group that have had like 2 intros on an album before. So like doubling up on like songs is like, okay, like I'm going to see where they take this because there's always a rhyme or reason for it, right?
Right, for sure.
All right, we're going to take the time machine now back to song number 4. This is going back to, I think, 1997. This is an early one. This is the oldest one that we're going to touch on. The song is called Beejin' Them. He said it. He said what the BPMs are. You guys talked about that earlier.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that song is a classic. Okay, Dilla put on the headphones. Don't let you hear it before he make the beat. We in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Me, Batin, and maybe a couple of other cast members is just there. And he's just in his headphones, just like, ooh, I got some shit. And then he play it. And it's that. You know what I'm saying? It was basically us just having fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Usually with records, you can tell who wrote to the record first by where the verses are positioned. So in this particular record, Dilla wrote his verse first, and then we came in. You know what I'm saying? That's why he first, and I'm second, and then by 10 is third. That's usually how the records went. So yeah, that was one of those classic Slum in the studio, coming with some records, joints. You know what I'm saying? Dilla looking through some jazz records, because that's a jazz loop. It was one of them records we used to perform a lot too. Definitely. And then sometimes, like if we in London or something, or doing a long set where people know B-sides and stuff like that, we'll throw that in every now and then. You know what I'm saying? Still today.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those classics too, where, depending on where you got in on the Slum train, that song has appeared in various forms. It's a favorite just because it kind of like is the pervasive song that I think if you really dig into the group, you see this song keep popping up. You like hear different versions of it. RJ, obviously you weren't in the group at this point, but tell me about like when you first heard this song and sort of where you were at in your life and career.
97, that's like right when I'm about to start getting into doing production. And I would come from school and I would go knock on the old manager's door or use the key to go in, and he would have the decks sitting there of like all the demos, old songs, or whatever's new. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, this is new. And I would go in there and listen. And I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you're like, yeah, it's dope. You never know it's going to be timeless or classic. You don't know that until the time passes, but it's something that you haven't heard before. That's what it was like for me.
And I'm sure only in hindsight you can appreciate the fact that you were learning production and basically getting these early tastes and early peeks into the work of who ultimately would be declared one of the greatest, if not the greatest producers of all time. That's some really special circumstances, I would say, to like be learning from.
Yeah, without a doubt. If everybody knew how special it was going to be, we probably would have had more cameras out recording everything. You know what I'm saying? But when you living in a moment, you just like, hey, these are my brothers. I don't need a camera. I'll see them tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So just a lot of stuff you wish you can go back and recapture. But yeah, that's one of those memories that I have of going in and just listening to what's new and saying, I wonder if I'll be this good one day.
Yeah. T, is there truth to the, I think I read this maybe in Dan Charnas's book, that around this time or era, you guys would sometimes write just to a metronome, to a click?
Yeah. When we did volume 1, yeah. What happened was this. We was inspired to do volume 1 through some randomness. Dilla had produced a group called Phi Ella, and he hadn't produced a full album on us yet. Like we had done songs, but we hadn't done a full record. So what happened was YG hyped it up. He was like, man, you ain't even did nothing with Slum Village yet, man. We need to do what's up with Slum Village. So we took that, because they was kind of bragging a little bit. Like, yeah, we got a whole Dilla album before y'all. You know what I'm saying? Which is hilarious because Dilla had the group with us. You know what I'm saying? And then that kind of sparked us to doing it. And what happened was we already had verses. Me and Batien had wrote so many verses. We had verses on verses on verses. So I would say about 30% of the songs was just to the metronome. Like Dilla just say, lay a verse. You know what I'm saying? So it was mostly all the solo joints that you hear. My solo joint, you hear Batien solo joint, and Dilla solo joint. Those was all to click. Those are all click records. You know what I'm saying? And then maybe one or two more songs on that. You know what I'm saying? It's 22 records on there, but half of them is remixes though.
Right. Is it difficult to write to a click? And when you're being asked to do this, is your thought process like, all right, well, let me just trust the producer? Or is it like, why the fuck is this guy not giving me beats? Why is he making me write to a click?
Well, we was in a time crunch. We was trying to really be done. So Dylan did we did all of this within a week time. We did that whole album in a week. So we was talking time crunch. That's why we did it. And I already had verses. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this one. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do this one and I'm gonna do this one. So if you're a rapper, you gonna rap. You know what I'm saying? You got rap. So yeah. So it wasn't that difficult. You know what I'm saying? But it was like, with Dilla, you always trust the process because he already showed and proved that he is Dilla. We already know this even before everybody else knew. We already know who Dilla is. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause we don't have to guess because we already see the incredible, ridiculous genius that people will witness, or are witnessing today for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah, that makes sense that it was a crunch. It's not like he like had you sit with a click track for 6 months and was like, yeah, right to these clicks.
Right. Yeah, right.
All right, we're going to move on to the next song, randomly selected. We're moving up to 2010 now from the Villa Manifesto album. And I love when these things happen because we started to already talk about some of these things. So I love when the algorithm works in mysterious ways. We get like things set up for us. The song is called We'll Show You. I mean, Jay, you had mentioned that you were studying, basically looking over the shoulder, looking at the DATs, right?
Mm-hmm.
In those early stages, and you were wondering and hoping to yourself, man, I hope one day that I'm this good. In 2010, this is a co-production, really, right? Because this is like a Dilla beat that you added to. Tell me about that process and where you were at mentally in doing that, because I imagine that's got to feel different than just making a dope beat on your own.
So it started in '98 was the first time I worked on something with him, and we continued to work on things throughout the years. So Climax will be the first record that I worked on with him and had to add to. As far as this record, we'll show you, it was a beat that that we had, and pretty much it was files missing, and it just wasn't up to date. So we had to go in and put everything back and reconstruct the record and add to it to make it a song. It's always good to be able to come back and bring something to life. You know what I'm saying? And keep them a part of the legacy. That's what we always try to do with every album, is try to keep, in every show, is keep the original members' legacy alive. So that was just another one of those things of us incorporating original trio and just keeping their name going. So it was an honor for me to work on that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like talking about incorporating all the elements and keeping it alive that was kind of like the MO of the Manifesto album from a listener's perspective. T, was that sort of where your head was at when it came time to writing the songs and putting the songs together in the album?
Well, one of the main things I wanted to do with the Villa Manifesto album is bring By 10 back. So it's a lot of By 10 on this album. We brought him back into the folds. And you know what I'm saying? Because, he left the group for a while, and I felt like, we needed that essence back. You know what I'm saying? So we went and found him and talked to him and convinced him to come back and be a part of the group. And then, we even started touring with By 10 at that time as well. That was one of my main goals for that album. That album was an interesting album. We was at an interesting stage in our life at that time. You know what I'm saying? But it was kind of trying, that album was. It very was. You know what I'm saying? But we got through it, you know what I'm saying? Then shortly after that album came out, By 10 passed, which was really sad. So, it was it was a tough time for us, man.
I'm speaking of T primarily, but really at this point, RJ, you've been part of this for a long time, that it's like really about carrying this torch for what the name means, for what the legacy means. I'm not from Detroit. Listening to your music, however it was, like for me and for some people, I'm sure it was Dilla, like learning about who's this JD guy. Oh, he's got a group. Oh, okay, I'm going to get into this. All of a sudden, the almanac of Detroit hip hop sort of expands, and it's like, oh, there's this guy. Oh, okay, like, and we start getting introduced to people like the Black Milks. We get introduced to the Fat Cats. We get introduced to all of these other people, and there's not a lot of groups in hip hop or groups in general that have gone through so many changes and evolutions over the years, but are still going. And I just wonder, like, for the both of you, it seems like being in Slum Village is amazing. And then it also seems that, like, as you guys, I see your reactions to some of these where you cover your face or you're just having a laugh. Like, it's been challenging as well.
Yes, this is true. Both of those are true. I mean, here's the goal. It's like this. If you think about Slum Village, a group, as a relationship or a marriage, it is hard to have, to stay in a situation for multiple years. Even if you go to high school with some guys and they're your best friends, soon as you go to college, things change. It's just it's just things evolve all the way across the board. When you leave college, some people get married, they have another lifestyle. They're not even close to their college friends anymore. So you got to think about it like that. So we're talking 30 years. That's a lot of, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of people that's passing through your life. And it just so happened that, Slum Village, we had multiple members in here, and they all did what they did. They contribute the way they contribute to the legacy. And it is what it is. But I decided to keep it going, and so did Jay, for the most part. Jay been here right now. Jay has been in Slum Village longer than Dilla has, which is crazy. But people don't look at it like, you know what I'm saying? But the years is yearing, as they say.
That's the name of the next album. The years is yearing.
Yeah, the years is yearing. Yeah, that's the next album.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the fact that people get introduced to groups and like they see a music video or they see an album cover and they just get this idea like, these three guys have breakfast together every day and they like spend, every time and they're just always going on crazy adventures, and that is not what anybody's life is like.
It never is that way. It's never that way.
Right. All right, we got two more left. We're going to hop into the next one. This is from 2002, the Trinity album, and the song is called Unisex. Have you ever done an interview where you talked about this song?
That's hilarious. I'm going to let Jay start off and talk about this song. Go ahead, Jay.
Man, I was just one of them beats that was just in the drum machine one of them days. And T was like, okay, what you got? And I'm like, this what I got. And it was just, we was trying to blend this album together because we wanted it to be soulful, traditional slum sound, and then Dilla switched the beats to this digital stuff, and we like, what's going on? Like, this ain't what we paid for. What are you doing? And it was like, all right, well, this is where I'm at now, so y'all can take it or leave it. So now we have to build this album around the original sound and slum stuff that we had, and futuristic stuff that Dilla has sent. And then T and by 10 of them came with the concept of making it Trinity, past, present, and future. So that was one of the beats that we used to round out the album for the future section. Would I probably use that or play that for him today? Absolutely not. But, that's one of them records in the time machine.
I'm interested when things like this come up because, again, I know these aren't songs that you guys talk about a lot, but they're on the document, and I think they represent part of the evolution. So if I'm understanding you correctly, this was your reaction and sort of trying to piece together this new sound that Dilla was coming with, and you're like, okay, let me see what I can do that's sort of in that wheelhouse so that it doesn't feel like there's these random, crazy, different sounding songs.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we got records like La La, Tainted, Soul, and then you got, the records that Dilla produced. And it's like, these don't fit on an album together. This is not an album. So we, like I said, 10 by 10 was like, well, we're going to have to shape it like this. And it was like, okay, well, we need to add more to this section. We need to add more here. And that was just us producing stuff that can kind of work to round out and transition songs within the album to make it feel like a well thought out project.
Right. Was the aversion to this more so that it didn't sound like what you had previously done and like the traditional sound, or was it literally that like y'all didn't like it?
I mean, I think I liked it for the time, but here's the thing. When we was doing Trinity, it was a trying time for me. Again, that was a trying time because that's when Dilla left the group. Dilla was gone officially. And I had to think about how am I going to get this album produced, with beats, without me going in there having to do all the beats. So what happened was me and Jay, we sat and thought, and, Jay did some beats, and then we had to find new producers. So that's when we got Kareem Riggins for the first time, Black Milk, for the first time. You know what I'm saying? We had to find these new producers to fill in those blanks. And Dilla he only promised to do 4 tracks on his album. That was it. You know what I'm saying? And he gave us a handful of beats just to pick from. He didn't even give us a lot of beats. And like I said, it was all these futuristic beats. We would rap on a beat and he would change it into a futuristic beat. Like, this is not even what I rapped on. You know, you know what I'm saying? And we was kind of stuck with it. And we was like, well, we gonna make it work. So that's when we came with the past, present, and future. You know what I'm saying, for the album. So,
okay, you're in a group. You get a lot of love and a lot of attention for the sound that you all came up with together. And then to your point, now all of a sudden it's like, all right, what else you got? And part of the equation then is like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to give you 4 songs and they're going to be wildly different than the things that we've been doing before. So you're in a position now where you're trying to problem solve. You're trying to like be like, okay, I want to keep this going. What do I do? So I'm just curious, as a musician, as an artist, as a human being, whenever I've had to do stuff like this, I usually have like people that I call them like, what do I do? I'm trying to get this like musical direction thing on this thing, because I'm a musician and a producer as well. Like, who were you looking to, or what were you doing to sort of be like, who was on your oh shit speed dial list of like, how do I solve this problem? Or did you not have that and did you just have to figure it out on your own?
we had about a think tank about 10 people that we ran this by. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately it was up to me and Jay to kind of make it work. You know what I'm saying? For sure. But we had to think that it was me, Jay, it was probably QD was there, YG was there, Jay's there, Big RJ was a big part of it, 2 of the think tank.
Were you satisfied with the result, or do you feel like if you could go back, would you not try to split it into 3 parts? Like, what's your sort of hindsight 2020 perspective on it?
I think we put it off. What you think, Jay?
I would have reduced the album down, focused it a little more. I probably would have had a couple more from Kareem to balance the album. But overall, I would say we pulled it off. That's one of Slum's biggest albums, regardless of what we think about it in hindsight. That is the biggest album.
Yeah, the people are going to tell you what they think, and that's ultimately we're always going to be the most critical of our own work, whatever it is, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
We got one more song. We're going to close it out. This is from 2000. This is the algorithm randomly selecting this from Fantastic Volume 2. The song is called Untitled. The question I've always had is, why was it untitled? You guys had so many interesting song titles. Why did this song just be like, nah, we're going to not title this?
Well, I would say it was untitled because we didn't do a hook on it. So we didn't know really what to call it. And really, to be honest, because there's no hook on it. It's just raps and an instrumental. And then it's raps and then it's an instrumental again. So it was like, yeah. So we just gonna keep it untitled. And the reason why we didn't do a hook is because we just felt like we didn't need it. It just sounds so good that you just want to listen. You just want to listen to the melodies and how he was building the chorus, how Dilla was building the chorus on there. You know what I'm saying? So with that verse, that was a quick verse to me. That was a quick write. And then, Dilla came in. By 10 came in, and then Dilla finally finished up the record. He probably did his verse like days later. You know what I'm saying? But it was definitely an easy write. You know what I'm saying? When Dilla did the beat.
I think Slum Village often, not enough people talk about the style. Like when you say I could rock a microphone or rock, like the way you said that second rock is like who in hip hop was doing that? And I mean that in such a complimentary way, because that is like so dope. Nobody else did that. But like also to the same point, nobody else did that. Like what in your head, why were you like, yeah, I'm just going to say it like this. I'm going to give this like guttural, like in the throat, like rock.
When I was formulating my style, I used to be in the basement just freestyling all day and just recording myself doing different, flows and whatever. I was really toning my stuff down because I was way more animated than I am on the Volume 2 album. You know what I'm saying? So what I did was I used bits and pieces of my animated self. You know what I'm saying? So, I came up under, LONS, which is super animated. You know what I'm saying? And, you know what I'm saying? Even with Pharoah Monch group as well. So they was super animated. You know, I came up in that
Organized confusion.
Yeah, Organized Confusion. So yeah, I came up in that era. So yeah, I was super animated, but I was kind of toning it down and just using bits and pieces and just using it in a way where it worked.
RJ, as a producer, why do you think this song has prevailed so much?
The record feels right. We've always focused on making the record feel right. If it's a hit, great. If it's not, you're gonna get a great feeling record. So we focus on that more so than a song has to have a traditional style hook. It's just all about the feel. That's what we want to capture. So for me, it's like that was a record that I was like, it feels right. Everything feels like it's supposed to be the way it is. I can't even imagine hearing a record with a hook on it. It probably would mess the song up.
Yeah, it's a perfect song. It really is a perfect song. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you taking this random algorithmic ride with me here. The album FUN, is it fun or FUN? How do you say it out loud?
It is FUN, and it's an acronym for FU Ninjas.
Got it.
So yes, it's FUN, and basically what we was just saying that we wanted to bring something new into the marketplace, and that that we felt that we love at Slum Village, and that's basically what we did. You know what I'm saying? Went there, had some fun, and made some good records.
Good records is an understatement. It's a great record. I'm really into it, and I know a lot of people have been talking about it. I saw Questlove was, shouting it out recently. I know you guys did his podcast not too long ago. Anything beyond? I know you guys are thinking about doing nothing right now because you just got off a month of touring in Europe, but what's next for SV?
Working on another album that's coming out later this year. We're on tour in the States. We're working. We're here. Slum Village. Let's go.
I love it.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you both.
All right, bro.
Peace. Big thanks again to Slum Village for coming on the show and sharing the stories and insight behind damn near 30 years of songs. Shout out again to that Patreon. Appreciate all the support of the crew. Shout out to the Stony Island Audio Podcast Network, super producer Robert Van Vranken for editing the show, and Midas the Beast and Zarism for making the show's theme. I'll be back next week with another episode of the Questions Hip Hop Podcast.
Stony Island.